Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. I originally created my Out Loud Geek YouTube channel to focus primarily on topics regarding popular culture, science fiction, and fantasy from a consumer's point of view. And while I originally had no interest or desire to talk about modern-day socio-political issues, that became impossible when Hollywood studios, including Disney, deliberately decided to push their preachy, in-your-face partisan socio-political DEI messaging into their entertainment products, which included co-opting movies and shows created for longtime science fiction and fantasy franchises that had never previously delved into such issues. And DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is nothing more than a buzzword for woke identity politics, which is a form of socialism designed specifically to only benefit those who have the ideology's preferred gender, race, sexual orientation, or sexual identity, while punishing everyone else who doesn't. In other words, it's all about pushing ideologically inspired inequality. That's why the E in DEI stands for equity and not equality, because the ideology's adherents and activists don't want equality. So it very quickly became impossible for me not to talk about socio-political issues on my channel as they relate to popular culture, science fiction, and fantasy, thanks to Hollywood and its studios and their excessive need to push the woke identity politics message. And in this editorial video, I'm going to speculate regarding the outcome of Tuesday's presidential election held in the United States, because dislike for woke identity politics undoubtedly influenced the outcome, but to what extent is impossible to say. But before proceeding, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please leave a comment, please subscribe to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! Tuesday's headline in The Hollywood Reporter speaks volumes. Hollywood reacts to second Trump presidency win, a sign of deep nihilism. Hollywood is in meltdown mode after Tuesday's presidential election because the man who won epitomizes everything that Hollywood's and Disney's most vocal woke identity politics activists despise. But here's what the Hollywood woke activists don't get. In all likelihood, their own actions, especially in how movies and TV shows have been ruined by continually pushing their woke messaging, effectively alienated a large portion of their audience and drove them into the waiting arms of the man that they fear, Donald Trump. Instead of focusing on producing good entertainment with good storytelling that everyone could enjoy, Hollywood, and especially Disney, chose of their own accord to dive fully into this nation's culture wars. And since doing that, it has only resulted in lost revenue and damaged reputations. In 2022, when then Disney CEO Bob Chapek publicly spoke against Florida's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, and its parental rights in education bill, the Florida state legislature and DeSantis took away Disney's very unique special tax status agreement that had given them the equivalent of a government entity formerly known as the Reedy Creek Improvement District for the area where Disney World was built. And having lost that special tax status as a result of becoming a partisan political entity, the Walt Disney Company will be paying for that loss for many years to come. Essentially, for as long as they continue to operate in Florida. For Disney, it was an incredibly poor decision on the part of Chapek, who caved to internal pressures that came from Disney's overly woke employees. And most of those woke employees are probably still there today, even though Chapek lost his job as CEO only a few months later in November of 2022. So the only results of Disney speaking against Florida's parental rights in education law was that Disney financially hurt itself, and Chapek lost his job, and the law itself remains unchanged. Thus, all of Disney's woke activists who believed that speaking against the law was somehow going to change it were proven completely wrong, just as they have been proven completely wrong multiple times about their so-called modern audience. Disney's losses don't end with their loss of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, because Disney and its subsidiaries, that include Pixar, Marvel Studios, and Lucasfilm, have all released very woke content that was ultimately rejected both at the box office and on their streaming service, Disney+. In March 2022, Disney Pixar's woke coming-of-age movie Turning Red was a huge flop. In June 2022, Disney Pixar released Lightyear, which was woke and a huge box office flop. In November 2022, with little fanfare, Disney's very woke animated movie Strange World was a huge box office flop. And 2023 saw a long list of woke flops for Disney and its subsidiaries. In February 2023, Marvel Studios' MCU movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was a huge box office flop. In May 2023, the very woke live-action remake The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, was a huge flop. Then in June 2023, Lucasfilm's and Kathleen Kennedy's completely unnecessary and unnecessarily woke movie Indiana Jones and the Dildo of Destruction was a huge box office flop. Then Disney's July 2023 woke movie The Haunted Mansion flopped. Then Disney's woke animated movie Wish, that was released in November 2023, was another huge box office flop. But Disney's biggest flop for 2023, which premiered about 2 weeks before the animated movie Wish, was the very woke and very feminist Marvel Studios MCU movie The Marvels, which lost several $100 million all by itself, and it remains the lowest grossing MCU movie of all time, both domestically and worldwide. And what about 2024? This year, Disney owns the two highest grossing movies of the year, Pixar's animated movie Inside Out 2 and Marvel Studios' MCU movie Deadpool and Wolverine, both of which have earned well over $1 billion worldwide. And guess what? Neither of these movies is pushing a woke agenda. But two of Disney's streaming series on Disney Plus did, and neither of them performed well with viewers at all. First, there was the BBC's latest rendition of Doctor Who that was totally wokeified with gay black actor Ncuti Gatwa in the titular role and portraying the Doctor as being very gay. The series also included an episode that featured a non-binary gay drag queen actor portraying a non-binary drag queen villain. But guess what? The show's viewership was so bad on Disney Plus that none of the episode's viewership numbers ever made it into any of Nielsen's weekly top 10 streaming viewership charts. Then there was Lucasfilm's highly undesirable series The Acolyte, written by the very woke lesbian writer Leslie Headland, who used to be Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, and who co-opted the Star Wars franchise through her series to push her overly feminist, anarchistic, LGBTQ, anti-institutional, and anti-religious messaging. Before the show premiered on June 4th, Kathleen Kennedy said that she absolutely loved The Acolyte, while she simultaneously criticized and attacked longtime male Star Wars fans who she didn't believe would like the show. 4 of the show's episodes had enough viewers to make it into Nielsen's weekly top 10 list of original streamed shows, but the other 4 didn't. And the total viewership for the series was so low that it's not only the least viewed Star Wars show on Disney Plus of all time, the show was canceled after its first and only season, to the dismay of the show's lead non-binary lesbian actress Amanda Stenberg and its handful of very vocal fans on social media, whose efforts to convince Lucasfilm to renew the show have thus far proven to be fruitless. And every time that some overly woke movie or show is released and fails, Disney, its subsidiaries, the trades, and the shill access media websites will invariably attack and blame the audience for their failures. And Disney isn't alone in attacking viewers and fans. Warner Brothers, Sony, Columbia Pictures, Paramount, Amazon Studios, and the BBC have each done the same thing, with woke productions that include Blue Beetle, Madam Web, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, The Flash, Borderlands, and Amazon's The Lord of the Rings of Power, just to name a few. But here's the funny thing. Most of these movies and shows were also directed towards demographics that include white men and white women. And how did they vote in Tuesday's US presidential elections? According to exit polls, men 30 years of age and older overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, and not enough women voted against him. In fact, men who were white or Latino overwhelmingly supported Trump, as did white women. So when Ncuti Gatwa arrogantly told viewers who didn't like his very gay version of Doctor Who to go outside and touch grass, and when Kathleen Kennedy attacked longtime male Star Wars fans, many of them also eventually went to ballot boxes and cast their votes in Tuesday's US presidential elections. So a large number of the audience that woke Hollywood has completely alienated and driven away from watching their productions, white men in particular, are among the same people who go out and vote. So while Hollywood has been busily attacking audience members who either don't watch their content or who dare to criticize their continuous woke identity politics messaging in everything that they produce, those same attacked audience members can eventually express their frustrations with Hollywood through their votes at ballot boxes. And that's undoubtedly what many of them did in Tuesday's US presidential elections. But as I said at the beginning of the video, while I don't know how many voters were inspired to cast their votes based on being alienated by Hollywood's continuous woke identity politics messaging and agenda, it very likely pushed some, if not many, more into the arms of Hollywood's political opposition. So congratulations, Hollywood! Just as Disney destroyed its special tax status in Florida in 2022 by publicly speaking against Florida's laws and diving directly into the country's culture wars, Hollywood's partisan socio-political messaging more than likely helped to push voters towards the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Maybe Hollywood will one day accept the fact that keeping their mouths shut and producing content that focuses on good storytelling and not partisan, in-your-face socio-political messaging, that more may be willing to support its preferred candidates and not the other way around. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to each and every one of you who has subscribed to support this channel. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and Blue Sky by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.